away!
Have you ever looked at an animal and felt it was looking back at you with human understanding? Not a curious look, but something aware, as if it was studying you. I felt that once, and I swear I still wake up at night hearing its paws on the gravel outside. It was the New Mexico desert, winter of 2003. The temperature dropped fast after 9 and the wind carried the smell of dust and burnt oil. I worked alone at an old station, the kind that barely shows up on a map, between Shiprock and Gallup. Nobody stopped there after sunset. That night I heard something moving near the fuel tanks. I thought it was a dog, thin, maybe lost, looking for shelter. I grabbed a can of beans and went out with my flashlight, calling softly, trying not to scare it. The creature was there, crouched behind pump number 3. It looked bigger than a normal dog, but it moved low, body pressed to the ground. Its fur was smeared with mud, and its snout was wet with blood. I should have gone back. Inside. I should have. But the instinct to help spoke louder. Then it raised its head, and the way it looked at me, it wasn't an animal's look. It was someone's. Back then I lived in a trailer behind the station. Small, too hot by day, too cold by night. But all I could afford. After the truck accident, my life shrank to this, fixing old pumps, restocking oil, waiting for the shift to end. Solitude became routine, and the roads silence, my company. The station was about 30 kilometers from the nearest town. Most drivers just kept going, too afraid to stop on that stretch. They said it was old land, that the ground kept secrets. I never cared for those stories. I grew up hearing truckers talk about lights in the sky, voices in the desert, shapes on the roadside. None of it ever truly scared me. My routine was simple. Open at sunset, check the tanks, drink bad coffee, listen to the radio. Sometimes a lost traveler showed up, sometimes no one, for days. Most nights it was only the wind, whispering between the pumps and the creak of the old open sign flickering. That night, the cold was harsher. The thermometer hovered near freezing, and the wind dragged fine sand. I was about to close when I heard it, a soft dragging, like claws scraping concrete. I went out thinking it was a dog, maybe a coyote. They'd come looking for food in the trash. Pointing the flashlight, I saw the shadow first, thin, elongated, limping as it walked. When the beam touched it, the creature stopped. Its fur was matted. Its eyes reflected the light, a reddish hue. It lowered its head but didn't run. It just stood there, watching. That calm bothered me. Scared dogs run, show teeth, make noise. This one didn't. It only stared, breathing deep, chest rising and falling slowly. It seemed to be waiting for me to take the first step. I stood still for a few seconds. The urge to help wrestled with a strange feeling. Something in my gut telling me not to get close. But after so long alone, you start thinking anything living is better than nothing. I took a strip of jerky and moved closer. Slowly, that's when I noticed the smell. It was strong, acidic, like rusty iron mixed with wet carrion. It hit my throat and made my eyes water. I stopped about 5 meters away holding the jerky. The flashlight shook in my hand and the reflection in the creature's eyes seemed to change color with the angle, sometimes red, sometimes a yellowish tone, almost human. I called again, "Hey buddy, come here." The creature moved, but not like a dog. The motions were stiff, wrong somehow, like the bones weren't where they should be. It dragged itself forward, front paws digging into the ground. And when I tried to see better, I realized its shoulders were far too broad. They looked like a hunched man's, forcing a body to go on all fours. Instinct made me step back. The jerky slipped from my hand and the sound of it hitting concrete was all you could hear for a few seconds. The wind had stopped. Even the sign stopped flickering. Everything went too quiet. The creature lifted its head. Now I could see the face, or what was left of one. The snout was too short, the jaw too wide, and for an instant I saw what looked like a scar running from the ear to the eye. But the worst was when it drew a deep breath. The sound didn't come out as a growl, but as an attempt at a word, a failed effort to vocalize. Aye. That's what I heard. And the world jammed up. Nobody called me Ray out there. Nobody knew my name. I dropped the flashlight. It rolled on the ground, lighting the fuel tank and half the thing's body. That's when I noticed the feet. They weren't paws. They were human feet, dirty, hardened, with toes twisted in an impossible way. It started moving faster then, joints popping, breath quickening. I ran inside the station and locked the door. The sound of claws or fingers tapping the glass echoed behind me. Outside, between the whisper of wind and the ping of cold metal, I could still hear it trying again. I leaned against the wall, heart pounding in my throat. The glass vibrated with every hit it gave the door. I could hear the nails or hands scraping slowly, scoring the sign. The voice dragged and rasped, as if it were made of air and pain at the same time. I grabbed the shotgun from under the counter and checked the shell. The metallic click rang through the empty store, and in that instant, the sound stopped. No scratching, no voice. Silence returned, like a heavy tide. I waited a few seconds before peeking through the side window. The flashlight I'd dropped still trembled on the ground, lighting pump number 3, but the creature was gone. Only sand moved in the wind, swirling like smoke. I started telling myself I'd imagined it all. Cold, exhaustion, isolation, maybe that was it, until I noticed something on the glass. 4 long, wet streaks running from top to bottom, like human fingers. I went to the back room where the generator was and killed the lights to try to see outside more clearly. Darkness swallowed the station, and for a few seconds nothing moved. Then on the far side near the tanks I saw the flashlight move, by itself. First, sliding slowly along the ground, then stopping. And right after that, a shadow passed in front of it. Too tall to be an animal, too hunched to be a person. The generator clicked and started whining again. The bulbs flickered, trying to come back to life. When the light finally steadied, I saw it. Outside, standing in the middle of the forecourt, was the thing that had been crawling moments before. Now it was nearly 2 meters tall, arms long, knees bent the wrong way, skin blotched with stains and dried blood. The face looked hastily assembled, as if someone had molded flesh to resemble a human and ran out of time. It looked at me like it recognized an old friend, and then finally, it smiled. That smile didn't look like an expression. It was a malfunction, an error in something, trying to copy a human face and failing. I froze, the shotgun barrel shaking in my hand. On the other side of the glass, it watched without blinking. Its chest rose and fell, but no air came out. No vapor, no sign of breath. I fired. The blast shattered the silence, and the window exploded outward. The muzzle flash lit its face for a second, and I swear I saw a thick seam running down the neck. The creature folded but didn't fall. It only turned its head slowly, as if curious. Then it vanished, quickly, melting into the roadside shadows. I rushed to bolt the doors and threw myself behind the counter. The smell of gunpowder mixed with the station's stale stink. I tried convincing myself it had been a sick coyote, some animal. I tried, but those human feet and that voice trying to say my name, none of it fit any explanation. The radio hissed, no signal. I spun the dial with a sweaty hand, searching for any frequency. In the static, I heard something that froze me, a click, a breath, and the same voice, farther away now, saying, "Ray, here." I dropped the radio. I knew it was close. I could feel it, like pressure in the air, the kind of feeling that comes before a storm. Strange to admit it now, but part of me wanted to understand, wanted to see it again, confirm what I'd seen. When you live alone too long, even fear becomes company. And if you felt that mix of fear and curiosity, like the dark calling your name, then you understand. And if you want to keep hearing these real stories, drop a like. It's how I know someone's still out there listening. I picked up the radio again and called for help, but the only reply was the sound of breathing, long, even, and outside the shadows started moving again. The breathing came from several places at once. Sometimes it seemed to come from the station's roof, sometimes from beside the trailer. I tried to track it, but it shifted, leaping from place to place, as if there were more than one, or as if the whole air were alive. The clock was nearing 3 in the morning when I heard the first blow, a sharp thud on the back wall, hard enough to knock bottles off a shelf. Another blow came, then another, each one closer. I ran to the window and saw something crawling along the ground, fast, folding its body in a way no living thing should. The generator dipped, the lights flickered, and every time they went out, the silence split with the sound of nails raking metal. When the power steadied, it was there, inside. It stood between the smashed soda cases and the oil aisle, long legs, bare feet caked with sand and blood. The face now seemed clearer, more human, as if bit by bit it were learning how to look like one of us. I fired without aiming. The shot hit its shoulder, but it didn't react. It only cocked its head to the side, curious, and began to walk toward me. Slowly, joints cracking with every step. Its skin shifted over the body like loose cloth. The shotgun failed on the second shot. I pulled the trigger. Nothing. Panic replaced thought. I grabbed the flashlight and aimed it at its face. That's when I noticed it didn't blink because there were no eyelids, only a dry, fixed shine reflecting the light. When I stepped back, it copied me. Exactly the same step, same rhythm, same scrape of shoe on floor. The difference was the smile, that same crooked smile tearing across its cheeks. I ran, shot out the side door and straight into the desert without looking back. The wind cut my face, the cracked ground made my feet slip, but I only wanted distance between me and that station and the thing that now walked upright, following me in the dark. And the worst part was that every so often I could still hear the sound of paws. I ran until I had no breath left. The desert felt endless, only hard ground cutting cold, and the thud of my boots on frozen sand. Behind me, the paw sounds returned, sometimes fast, sometimes slow, like it wanted to play. I looked back and saw only a moving outline, a dark shape against the station's distant glow. The flashlight died halfway. When the last beam went out, the sound stopped too. Nothing moved. The silence was so dense I could hear my blood in my temples. Then a crack, close to my left. I turned just in time to see 2 legs appear from behind a rock, and then the whole body rising. It stood there, motionless, and what marked me most was realizing its shape changed. The face looked different, more human than before, as if it were learning while watching me run. Same torn jacket, same height, and the same way of holding the wounded shoulder exactly like I was holding mine. That's when I understood. It wasn't only imitating a dog, it was imitating people. It was imitating me. I ran again, now with no sense of direction. I crossed the road and tumbled down a rocky slope into a dry wash where a shallow stream ran. I stayed there, slumped against a stone, body shaking, blood taste in my mouth. I looked up and saw fire's reflection, the station burning on the horizon. The paw sound returned, then stopped a few meters away. For a moment I thought I'd see the face again, but no, what I saw was a pair of eyes, watching me from the dark, faintly glowing, and the outline of a body lowering itself back to all fours. After that the sound receded. It was gone. When the first cars passed on the highway, the sun was already rising. No one believed what I told them. They said I must have seen a sick coyote, but no. Sick coyote walks upright, and none of them tries to use your name to call you back. It's been more than 20 years since that night, but I still carry the desert inside me. The sound of wind slapping metal sheets, the smell of gasoline, and that silence that comes right before something notices you. I moved back to the city soon after and never drove that stretch again. The station sits in ruins, burnt and forgotten, but sometimes travelers say that when the wind shifts, you can hear a dog whining out there. I try not to listen, because I know it isn't a dog. What I saw that dawn taught me one simple thing. Evil doesn't show up screaming. It comes close slowly, imitating the ordinary, pretending to be harmless. And by the time you understand what it is, it's already too close. These days, I keep my windows shut. And when I hear paws scratching the asphalt outside, I try to convince myself it's just a stray looking for shelter. But deep down, I know it still finds me. Every time the wind whispers my name. If you stayed with me this far, leave a like, subscribe, and ring the bell. That way you help me keep telling these stories, so nobody else pulls over when they see a dog on the side of the road.